This is Never Down, Never Out with T.R. Matson. This podcast is about discipline when motivation fades, resilience when things get hard, and showing up when quitting would be easier. No hype, no shortcuts, just the mindset required to build something real. One day at a time. Let's get into it. Welcome back. Episode, I have to look on my sheet. That's good. That means we're building some momentum, right? Episode 33. Again, I'd probably start off everyone, maybe my new intro should be just me thanking everybody for the support because it's been just mind-blowing. I am humbled. I don't feel like I deserve the amount of people that are listening to listen, but you guys are. So thank you. It means a lot. It really does. I'll jump right into today's lesson. I feel a little bit discombobulated, if you will, a little unorganized today. I'm trying to record, and there's a lot going on. Had some issues with some home stuff, and trying to take care of a puppy who's finally, thank goodness, starting to sleep through the night. And then two kids, there's good and bad days with homeschooling and things like that. So today was a good day. It was just very busy. So I need to get in and get this recorded to keep on this, right? The discipline that I've taught myself, the discipline that I talk about, I've got to practice what I preach. So I hope that the message, because this is an important one, this episode. So topic today, I hope the message gets across, even though I'm a little bit out of it, but here we go. So winning the first hour of the day. This is probably one of the biggest things habits, if you want, that has helped me, especially when I have a very direct goal ahead of me, is that first hour. And it's evolved over my life. I used to do this without realizing I did it. And then as I got older, I had to specifically focus on it without, I had to make a conscious effort. I had to set up my life to make it work. And it's harder to do. So it was almost easier to do this when I didn't realize I was doing it. But if you read things out there, owning that first hour of your day, it's one of the things, and I'm not putting myself into this particular category of people, although I wouldn't mind one day being considered. But it's one of the things that they say most successful or millionaires or whatever, however you value or however you judge somebody that's successful. They say this particular thing, this particular skill set of owning the first hour of your day is one of the most important. It's referred to as the golden hour. Now that depends, right? From the airline world, it varies what the first hour of the day is. I'm going to talk today from a standpoint of the stereotypical day of a person. That being said, if you work a night shift, graveyard shift, something like that, maybe you need to adjust this. But I think the same principles apply. So, personally, for me, I find I do my best, all else being equal, not flying or not on a trip or, not doing red-eye flights or things like that, which I'll try to avoid. But all else being equal, if I can get up around 5 a.m. And this first hour is that 5 to 6 a.m. So I'm going to have some challenges for you at the end. But for now, when we talk about this, we talk about it with the mindset of 5 to 6 a.m. I know some of you are like, whew, that is early. It is. But hear me out. So I'll give an example first. I've talked about this with Trees in Flight. When I wrote Trees in Flight, I was in the process of, I was an instructor at my airline, working mostly in the simulator. We would split our duties. Sometimes we would go fly, sometimes we would work in the sim. But at the time, I was primarily in the sim most months out of the year. And because my son was a newborn, not even just a newborn, but he was only a few years old at the time. I got into a habit of working what we refer to as A periods, the first sim of the day. Now, to put that in perspective, the first sim of the day starts at 5 a.m. You need to be in the briefing space, ready to brief, ready to teach at 5 a.m. And while I was doing all this, I was trying to write a book. Okay, well, I could have done my sim, been home around noon, had some lunch, sat down at the computer and started to write. But I found if I tried to do that too many times, it ended up not working. Like, it ended up where basically I would get home and life would take over. And I was having a real hard time trying to get words on the page because there was just so many distractions. And I mean, that's just with one kid. Now, with two children, a new puppy, a podcast, trying to be held accountable by all these different things, the later the day gets, the harder it gets, right? So it made it very difficult to write in this particular phase. And then I remember one morning specifically, I couldn't sleep very well. I had an A period, which meant typically I was leaving my house about 4 in the morning, and maybe a little bit later than that. And I just couldn't sleep, and I was up at 3 a.m. And for whatever reason, the creative juices, if you were flowing, and I decided to open up my book draft and type. And I blasted through thousands of words. Anybody who's written a book, it's all about word count, which it shouldn't be, but that's a whole nother discussion. But those are markers, right? So I knocked out thousands of words like it was nothing. My mind was clear. I felt like I had accomplished something. I was like, that's weird. And hopped in the shower, hopped in the truck, went to work. But when I got home at noon, I had already accomplished that, right? So I'd already felt pretty good that when things started coming up and life started coming at me, I already had a win, right? I had already done one of the things I wanted to do that day for me, my goal. So I go, you know what? I got an A period the next day. Let me set the alarm a little early. Let me just see if that was a fluke or if there's really something to this. And it worked again. And now some of my critics might say that it's pretty obvious that I wrote my book at 3 a.m. I'm just kidding. Well, hopefully that's not what people think. But the point that I'm getting at is I got some traction with it, where it really was a time where everybody was asleep. I could focus on it and I could get that done. And then I could move on with my day. Well, the book got, published and all that, and life goes on. But I still find that first hour of the day is critical. It kind of sets the tone for your whole day. We've all been there where we wake up, whether we don't feel great or maybe we're running a little late, or what do we do first? Pick up our phone, right? Check social media, check who's texted us, check our emails. We might not even be out of bed yet, and we're looking at those things. And our minds are just getting inundated with all this stuff that's going on in the outside world and all the negativity and just noise, for lack of a better word. And then we're just kind of in that mood the whole day. And I've learned over time, again, for the sake of today's discussion, we'll call it 5 to 6 a.m., but it could vary depending on your work schedule and your life schedule. But that first hour, especially if you move that hour earlier than you're used to getting up, it really can make a difference for how your day goes. I talked about it with my wife. She loves, well, maybe not love, she excels in setting the alarm at 5 o'clock and going to work out 5 to 6 a.m. It sets her mood for the whole day. She's felt like she's accomplished something. She's not looking up against trying to get a workout in later. She's gotten the thing done for her time, knocked out right away. So it sounds easy, right? Yeah, dude, let's just set the alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow and look at me, I'm going to be a millionaire. And if it was that easy, I think everybody would do it, but it's not. And there's a reason for that. It's because in order to maximize that potential, in order to actually have that work for you, it doesn't start with just setting an alarm for tomorrow. It starts by planning, just like everything else, right? So that means if you're going to get up at 5 a.m., you're not going to stay up until midnight, right? Binge watching shows, playing video games. I do highly recommend a fantastic motivational podcast. Just kidding. That only takes 15 to 20 minutes. But you're not staying up super late drinking. You're not staying up going out, partying and all this stuff because you have to get up at 5 a.m. So you've already set the end of your current day, right? We're going to go to bed earlier. We're going to try to. But you also have to set yourself up for success the next morning. Now, whatever that is. Now, I've read a ton of things on this where people will they want to break that 60 minutes up into 3 sections, the golden hour. They're going to do 30-minute blocks. I don't, that's fine. If that works for you, go for it. It's not me. For me, I know there's certain things I like to get done in the first hour. And there's certain things I try, again, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I try to do, and there's certain things I try to avoid in that first hour. And one I have to work on. But what I try to do is I know personally that I want a cup of coffee. Even if I'm going to go work out, I want a cup of coffee. So, I have the timer set on the coffee pot. It turns on and I wake up and I usually, go use the restroom real quick and then get a cup of coffee. Okay. Now I'm moving. I'm making some movement. My feet are on the floor. I'm getting some traction, getting a little caffeine. And then the next thing I like to do is I like to read my book. And I'm not trying to make this I try to stay, the military taught me to stay out of religion and politics, but I'm also not going to shy away from what I believe. And, so I have a book that's 365 Days with God, and it's just a minute. That's all it is. It's a minute thing about today, and it gets my mind right. It gets me thinking, so as the coffee wakes up my body, I feel like the reflection of that short reading wakes up my mind, wakes up my spirit. Okay, those are done. Now, let's think about what we're doing today. Do I need to hop in the shower right now because I have to get ready to go somewhere, or because I'm going to get on and record and I don't want to look like I just rolled out of bed? Or am I going flying? Or do the kids have something going on? I'm inventorying the day. I'm kind of planning a Google Maps or a Waze trip in my mind of my day. So that's kind of the third thing I do. And then from there, I start to execute it. And some of that is I get on and record right away. Some of that is I'll start writing, or I'll organize it, different things or different thoughts or researching things. But these are all things that I lay out in that first hour. Most of the time, the house is still pretty quiet, which is good, because the key, in my opinion, to maximizing your golden hour is to not have a ton of distractions going on. And that is not easy to do in this world. And that leads me to the one thing I say I want to work on more. Since I've started this podcast, a little over a month ago, I've been very interested for the feedback. And I'll be honest, and this isn't me reading my own press, it's been a resounding positive feedback. So that means one of two things. Either the haters aren't hating, or they're bored with it and they don't feel like making a comment, or it hasn't reached them yet, which is a possibility. Or there's actually a good message that's coming across here, and that's what people are writing. And I hope it's the latter. Time will tell. But because I want that feedback, one of the things that I find that I do pretty early on is I hop on and I take a look at some of the comments from the previous video. The problem with that is that leads to very easy social media scrolling, email scrolling. It's the opposite of what I try to do in that first hour. So I need to work on keeping my phone on Do Not Disturb, if it's on Do Not Disturb, and focusing on the task at hand in that first hour. That's my goal for me. You may be better at that, and if you are, good for you. But if you're not, it doesn't hurt. The outside world will creep in at some point throughout the day We don't need to invite it in that first 60 minutes, in my opinion. So that's something I'm working on. Additionally, this is a time where if one of your goals is fitness, getting up and getting a workout in is huge. If you can get up and knock out any movement, it doesn't have to be your full workout even. It could be a walk, it could be a jog, it could be some stretching. Don't feel like, I know I'm very blessed with the fact that we built out a gym in a portion of our garage, and I can just go right out there. It's amazing. Trust me, I'm thankful that I have the ability to do that. But you don't need that. It can be, I was talking to my son the other day, and we were talking about this on how his mom likes to get up and work out and all this, and I like to get up and kind of reflect a little bit, and he goes, well, I can't just get up and go work out. And I was like, well, technically, sure, you could. I go, but you don't need that, right? I go, you could just get up and start doing push-ups next to your bed. If you set a goal that you're going to do 100 push-ups every morning before you start your day, you're going to be a better person for doing that every day. And of course, he's like, I can't do 100 push-ups. I'm like, well, not right now, but do 10, do 20, do 50. Work your way up to it. Number one, I promise you'll get there. Number two, you'll be a better person for it. Now, is he doing that every morning? Who knows? I don't know. And that's his time. But it's just something that, if your goal is that workout, think about that. It doesn't have to be your full-blown going to the Globo gym and working out and getting in your programming or whatever it is. It could be as simple as stretching. It could be as simple as just, minor things, push-ups, sit-ups, things like that you can do. Anybody can do wherever they are. But that golden hour really, in my opinion, sets the day. And if we can set the day, I've talked about this in the past, if we can set the day and we can stack some wins, we have a chance. But if we can't, and we start off going down the wrong path, it's like putting the wrong address in Waze. It'll get you there. It ain't going to be pretty. Might be going through somebody's backyard, if you know what I mean. So it's important to give ourselves the best chance of success every day. So I'm going to challenge you today to write down some things that you want to do in your first hour. And tomorrow morning, get up an hour earlier than what you normally would. I know, I hear the groans. Trust me, it's hard. I'm not a morning person. Nobody's a morning person. You have to train yourself to be a morning person. Trust me. I'm very much not a night person now than I used to be not a morning person. So you can train your body. So set the alarm an hour early, have a list of things you're going to do and a list of things you're not going to do. And let's focus on that for a week. And tell me some of those things if you want to put them in the comments. I love it. The feedback's great, but give me some of what those things are to you that you're going to do, things you're going to avoid, and we'll work together, because I do want success. Again, I just answered an email, and I thought it was really, really nice. This person had written an email. They said they typically don't comment on YouTube. They're not that type of person, but they wanted to thank me for what I'm doing, and I appreciated that. And I want this, while this started to be a podcast for my kids and their kids to listen to hopefully teach them some things, I want this to be something that helps everybody. If in a perfect world, this podcast, as the kids say, could go viral, even if I didn't make a dime off of it, if the message could go viral and it could help that many people, then I think we really have a shot. And I'm not saying my message is the only message out there, but if we could make that work, think of how great the world could be. It would be unstoppable. And that's my dream, is that somehow maybe my words inspire somebody else's story, which inspires something else, and just the ripple effect of everything continues. So let's write down a few things we want to do in that first hour tomorrow and a few things we want to avoid. Let's set the alarm an hour early and let's try it. Let's try it for a week. And if it doesn't provide negative results in your life a week from now, then go for a second week and see what happens. I just want to thank you again for tuning in. Never down, never out. If this episode helped you, don't just listen, apply it. Progress is built in what you do after the message ends. Remember, never down, never out. I'll see you tomorrow.